episode of Ground Pass. How is everyone doing? Are you missing tennis? I'm missing tennis, but I'm here to talk to you today about exhibitions. And as you can tell, it's just me today. It's just Anastasia, no Nick. He is enjoying his off season. But yeah, he'll be back next week where we will have an episode about next gen. Spoiler alert, we'll have an episode about next gen. So look forward to that next week. But for today, talking about exhibitions. There have been a couple of exhibitions that just happened here in the US that I would like to talk about, and then also just talk about exhibitions in general. I have my notes here. I have a glass of wine, and we're ready to go. Also, if you're listening to this on your podcast feed, thank you. Thank you for listening on your podcast feed. But if you are and you want to see some video, because I'm going to be including some video in our YouTube version of the exhibition that happened at Madison Square Garden, link below to our YouTube channel, and you can watch this podcast versus just listen to it. Okay, let's get into it. But before we jump in, wanted to say thank you to everyone who participated in kind of our Ground Pass Awards. It was actually really great for the people who turned in their sort of their favorite tournaments and what matches they liked. It was really nice seeing all of them. I'm going to put some of them here. Look at me. She's a YouTuber, but I'm going to put some of them right here for you to take a look at. And I will link it in our social media as well, so you can follow us on social media. And if you have not participated, you can participate too. I will leave the link to the form where you can screenshot it or save the image, fill it out, post it to social media, tag us in it, and that's how we'll get to see it as well. Now, exhibitions. So if you didn't know, there were two exhibitions that were held over the last few days here in the US. One was in New York, and then the other one was in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina. I will be talking mostly about the one in New York, and then I will bring up the one that happened in Charlotte as well, because I know some people who went there, and I was able to watch it on the tennis channel, so I kind of got a feel of what that event was like. But I will mostly be talking about the one that happened here in New York at Madison Square Garden that I attended and what the experience was like. So let's just start with exhibitions. What is an exhibition? Now, a tennis exhibition it's just a tennis match, but for fun, It's like any other sort of exhibition style match or game in sports. So for example, the NBA have the All-Stars, or when maybe the NFL does preseason and they do it in Europe somewhere. It's basically a way for a sport to exhibit itself. I want to use the example specifically of when like the NFL go to Europe. It's because NFL football, which is American football, isn't played anywhere else professionally, but they always want to sort of get new fans. So by taking the event to someone in Europe where a European fan can actually go in person and experience what an NFL game is like, that can create new fans. It's kind of the same thing with tennis. And I think that's a function of exhibitions, and what they can do is grow a sport. So that's what exhibitions can do too. And it's really fascinating, I think, listening to some people's ideas of exhibition tennis. I think when I posted on social media that Ground Pass was going to go to MSG and I was posting all about it, I did get some responses from people being like, well, it looks like fun, but does it even matter? And I'm like, yes, it does matter. But first of all, does it have to matter? It's an exhibition. It's not for points. It's not for a trophy, even though they did all get trophies for, well, not everyone, but, the winners of the matches got sort of like nominal trophies and things like that. I'm sure there was prize money or at least appearance fees, if anything. But it was fun. It was a fun event. And can't something just be for fun? Can't you just enjoy a night out watching tennis and not worry if it's for points or if it's for anything, especially for the audience that are coming to events like this who are new, probably mostly, to this sport. I think exhibition tennis can take tennis to places that it has not been before. I think an easy example this season that you can call on is the Riyadh season exhibition or any of the exhibitions that have happened in Saudi Arabia, because it's taking tennis to a place that it hasn't been before. But let's look way back. For example, when Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer played in an exhibition in South Africa, there is no tournament like of a sort of 250, 500, 1,000 level or Grand Slam in South Africa. The chances that that audience would have seen Federer and Nadal live other than that exhibition is slim to none in South Africa, but they got the opportunity to do it when they had an exhibition there. So I think, there are a few diehard fans, I think, who think, oh, it doesn't matter, there are no points, so why should I care about this exhibition? But I think in those cases, I always say, just think outside of the box a little bit. A lot of people who go to these tournaments don't watch tennis regularly, if at all. They're going there because it's a fun time and they're excited to see these players, or it's in a location where they usually don't have the opportunity to see these tennis players in person, and hence they're there. So that's a general just thought on exhibitions. I love them. I like to have a fun, good time while I'm watching tennis, so why not go to exhibitions if I can? And also, depending on the level of it, it's another way to sort of get to know these players, because they're usually more relaxed. It's a fun environment. They're joking around. And I think these tennis players that were at this exhibition were perfect for these matches. So the Garden Cup. The Garden Cup was the exhibition that happened in New York in Madison Square Garden. The last time tennis was played in Madison Square Garden was 2018. So it's been a while. But here's the thing. Madison Square Garden has a massive tennis history. And I knew tennis had been played in Madison Square Garden before, but I was not aware of the deep, deep history. And I'm going to take out my phone here to look at the dates, because there are a lot of them. But the WTA Finals was held at Madison Square Garden from 1977 to the year 2000. The WTA Finals, the same event that, over the last few years has been looking for a home and not knowing where to go, and now they're in Saudi Arabia for a few years. But from 1977 to the year 2000, the WTA Finals was held in Madison Square Garden. The ATP Finals, which now has a home in Italy, and it's going to be there for a few more years, was held from 1977 to 1989 at Madison Square Garden. So Madison Square Garden has a really, really long and storied history with tennis, and it is so exciting to see it back. The last thing that was played there were the tiebreak tens, which was another exhibition. So it's nice to see that they're bringing the exhibition back. It would be nice. This was, I think, a very successful event, so it would be really interesting to see if it comes back next year, maybe in a different format, if it just keeps growing and growing, and maybe we can bring back tennis to Madison Square Garden on a regular basis. I think that would be a really, really, really great thing. If you hear the ambulances and things going by, we're in New York, baby. Those are just the sounds that you hear here. But yeah, so that's the history of tennis in Madison Square Garden. What was this event like? I mean, I didn't know what to expect. Madison Square Garden is a really, really large venue. I think it's over 15,000 people in that venue. It's like a really, really large venue. In fact, let me see what the capacity of Madison Square Garden. 19,500. That is the capacity of Madison Square Garden. So that's a lot of people. And guess what? The event sold out. So coming into this event, didn't know what to expect really, but it actually started with some play on court. So they had some local sort of club tennis players show up and play red ball tennis on court, which I had not heard of before as a concept. But basically, they set up these sort of, movable nets, and they were playing with child balls. If you've ever seen a regular tennis ball, it is just sort of regular tennis ball yellow. But junior or like children tennis balls that they play with are red and yellow. And that's what they were playing with. And I think they were trying to promote definitely more club level and grassroots tennis. So you could just put up a net anywhere, get your rackets and have these balls and play with them. I think it was more sort of just, I don't think it was specifically to combat pickleball, because I think pickleball has been something that people have always turned to. And when they say it's like entry level to racket sports, it's so easy to just buy the rackets. You have these balls, you can put the nets up anywhere, in a parking lot, in a park, like wherever you are, and just start playing. I think they were trying to promote that sort of level of tennis where you just put up this roll up net. You can put it up anywhere. You have these really soft balls that don't make a lot of sound. They were so adamant to keep saying that they don't make a lot of sound. And you could have 4 people to a court, kind of doubles like, but you're just playing with a singles match. So 2 people playing on each side. So it was very interesting. I liked it. I think it was really cool to have sort of the opportunity to play tennis in Madison Square Garden, all these community players who were there. So I thought for them, that must have been like pretty cool. But that's how it started off. And then it went on to a junior tournament. So as kind of an opener, as the audience were coming in.
Tonight, well done. After the U.S. Open, I was like,
what a talent.
That starts what's going to be a spectacular night here.
2 junior players got to sort of open up the event. So as the audience was coming in, you had 2 junior players. Their names were Annika and Kristina Penikova. They basically opened up the event by playing a little a set of tennis to open up the event. I think they also said they're actually going to be at the Junior Australian Open, which I thought was really cool. They're sisters and they're twins, so that was really cool. And yeah, so it was nice seeing them play. It was a really good sort of opening set of tennis, and then the main event began, and it began with Emma Navarro and Jessica Pegula, and it was such a fun. It's so funny when people say, oh, what does it matter? It's just exhibition tennis. There was some high level moments in there, definitely. Was the entire 3-set match high level? No, it was not. And so to go back a little bit, this exhibition was 3 sets. So it was like 2 regular sets of tennis, and the 3rd set, if it got to that point, was a tie break to 10, I think it was, if I remember correctly. But, it was a really just fun match between Emma Navarro and Jessica Pegula. Emma Navarro won the match, and then it was time for quote unquote the main event, but it was Ben Shelton and Carlos Alcaraz were the next matchup, and that was so much fun. Ben Shelton was throwing himself around the court, which I just kept, in the back of my mind, I just kept saying, Australian Open, Ben, we still have the Australian Open. But he was so physical in the match, throwing himself around, having a great time. And it was just a fun event. And it was a massive, massive crowd. Again, it was sold out. Everyone was having fun. And it was just, the atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. The MCs for the event were Steve Weissman and then Renee Stubbs, who I'm sure you recognize those names if you watch a lot of tennis tournaments on TV, because they usually, are either working for the Tennis Channel or for ESPN, and you kind of see them in that kind of role at different events. But yeah, it was really, really fun and just kind of worth it. I obviously went as press, so I wasn't paying for a ticket, but I think it was totally worth it. There were some tickets for $30. And I think as a night out to watch great tennis for $30, I think that's great. That was fun. And those were definitely the seats that were higher up. There were some lower level seats in the sort of like $50 to $100 range. And then there were courtside level seats that were definitely more expensive. They went anywhere from sort of like $600 to $1,000, depending on where you were on the floor. And I get it. It was, it's a very kind of who's who in the New York scene. I mean, Anna Wintour was there. There were definitely a lot of celebrity faces, local New York celebrities who were in the audience. And it was really a vibey, fun night out to be. At least that's what it seemed. Everyone was having a good time. What did I like the most about the event? I think having tennis on such a big stage as MSG, Madison Square Garden, I think it's massive for the sport, because just listening to not only conversations at the tournament, but also conversations like as I was leaving to go home on the subway and things like that. It's just the questions people start asking. Oh, what was that? Oh, tennis. Oh, it's like the US Open. Oh, I'll watch that. Or, it's just people getting interested and involved in the sport because it is on such a big stage. I think that was massive. I loved that as a fan of the sport. And I think, from that, the second thing I liked is that it was such a great opportunity to make more tennis fans, because there were many people in the audience who had maybe never seen live tennis before. I would not be surprised if 50% of that audience had never seen live tennis before. So it was a great opportunity for them to experience live tennis and be part of that experience and maybe become massive fans of the sport because they loved Carlos Alcaraz or Ben Shelton or whatever it was. But I think it was a big, big night for New York and New York tennis and tennis in the States in general. What didn't I like? There wasn't much I didn't like. I thought, in all, it was a very well-run event. The vibes were great. The food, it's the typical food you get at MSG. It's, it's what it was. But what I would say is, because I did move around the arena and I was on the ground level for the most of it, but then I also went up to sort of the nosebleeds per se. And when you're up there, you don't hear the players anymore. When you're on the ground level, there was so much talking back and forth, especially during Carlos Alcaraz and Ben Shelton's match. They're joshing around, they're talking back and forth, they're cracking jokes. There was a lot happening that if you're in the nosebleeds, if you're in the higher seats, you're not hearing that. And the first thing I thought was like, why are they not mic'd up? Like, it would be really cool if the players were also mic'd up. And maybe that's something they'll do in the future. I think mic'd up tennis in general is something I'm very fascinated by. Ever since I watched it at the, City Open, the DC Open, mic'd up doubles players. And I know it was part of an experiment with the ATP, but I think it was really great. I mean, for the most part, you're just, the players were just like, come on, you got, it was just all encouragement. But especially at an exhibition where Ben Shelton and Carlos Alcaraz are joking around, I want to hear that from everywhere, So I think that could have been, or that could be something that they look at in future years and maybe add to the event. But yeah, in general, spot on. It was great. Loved every moment of it. If you don't follow us on social media, you should, because I took a lot of photos. I took over 2,000 photos, close to 3,000 photos. I know that is a crazy amount, but I just got a new camera and I'm trying to figure it out. So I took a ton of photos. So follow us on social media. You'll see all the photos. Well, a selection of the photos that I took from the event. And if you, again, are watching this or listening to this on a podcast app, watch this on YouTube, and I will post the photos everywhere so you can take a look at them. And I can at least post some fraction of the photos that I took at this event. So yeah, that was the Garden Cup. Really excited for the future of tennis at MSG. The other exhibition that happened in the U.S. was the Charlotte Invitational. It was held in Charlotte, North Carolina, a place that doesn't have a tennis tournament at this level. The arena they played at was also another, MSG holds a lot of things. It's the home of the Knicks. It's the Knicks are a basketball team, for those who don't know, a lot of concerts and things like that. And the venue that tennis was played at in Charlotte was very similar, and it was the first time that they had also held a tennis tournament or exhibition or anything like that. So it was, I think, very exciting for them. They also sold out. Their arena was a little smaller. MSG's 19,000, just over 19,000. They're just over 15,000, and it was a sold out event there as well. Carlos Alcaraz was the only common player. The other players that played in Charlotte were Frances Tiafoe, Madison Keys, and Sloane Stephens. And by the looks of it, it was a very successful event as well. If you listen to the Served podcast and follow them on social media, Andy Roddick kind of was, I don't know what sort of role he was playing per se in the Invitational. I do know he lives in North Carolina, so it did seem he was acting as almost a host or an MC or something. He definitely wasn't on court talking, but it seemed like he was more of a host. And it Served podcast, social media, posted a lot about the Invitational. So you can go follow them, look back on their social media and see all the things they posted. I know Christian's Court, he was also at the exhibition, and he was posting some of the interviews that the players gave to the press on X. I don't know if he did anything on Instagram, but I will look, and I'll just link everything down below so you can go peruse and look at photos and stuff. But it looked like a very fun event. I think they definitely leaned more on the exhibition side of exhibition tennis, especially with the match against Frances Tiafoe and Carlos Alcaraz. There were a lot of other sort of sporting celebrities. I think there's a baseball player and a football player, basketball player. Frances Tiafoe was playing in a Raptors jersey, their basketball team. So they brought on a lot of these players to play against. I thought it was actually really cute that each time one of these sporting personalities came on, they were always wanted to hit against Carlos Alcaraz. I thought that was actually really funny. But yeah, it looked like another kind of fun event. And so there's this video, which I will link below, that's going around on social media that is so cute. But there was this kid who had never seen Alcaraz play live, and he traveled really far to come to this location and see him play live. And he had a sign that, the organizers of the event had helped him make, and he was holding it as he went down to get a hat. signed by Carlos Alcaraz, and Carlos saw it and signed a racket and gave him a racket. And I thought that was so cute. And I think that is, like, that kid's going to have that memory forever. He's probably going to be a Carlos Alcaraz fan forever. And from there, probably a tennis fan forever. So I just think that, I think, is the essence of exhibition tennis, or these events that don't, quote unquote, mean anything in terms of points or rankings or, anything serious. It's not going to go down in your sort of, sporting history. Carlos Alcaraz played at MSG. It probably will, because it's MSG, but, it doesn't count for anything. But I think it counts for a little bit more when it comes to promoting the sport and making new fans. And that's important too. Growing of a sport and making new fans, that's important. And having fun events like this where people can see how fun tennis can be, I think is really important. And hopefully some of that will bleed into just the regular game of tennis, where it can be a little bit more fun, a little bit more carefree. Like, we see a little bit of that at tennis tournaments now that have free fan movement, for example, because at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like it's affecting the tennis players that much. So it's the loosening up of the reins. And I think that's an important thing to do if you want to grow the sport and not gatekeep and sort of keep people out of it, just because they just want to watch some fun tennis. Anyway, that's my little rant chat for the day. This is going to be a really short one. Again, thank you everyone who participated in our tennis review. It has been really nice seeing everyone's replies. Thank you for everyone who has liked a video or, left a comment, subscribed, followed us on Instagram or Threads or Blue Sky, anywhere that you find us. It really means a lot. Really enjoy getting to have these opportunities to go to MSG and watch tennis and cover the event. And it's because of the people who follow us and ask questions and want to see how these events go and want to know more about tennis tournaments and tennis as a sport. So thank you. Like, subscribe, rate this podcast. It all helps. And we will see you next week where, as I said, we will be talking next gen. Bye, everyone.